Welcome to the Offshoot. I'm the host, Lee Sean Nelson, and today I have a small panel. I have two previous guests who come back today to talk about mass shootings and why is it that we as Black people tend to be the target of most mass shootings. So I'm bringing back Dawnta Million, who is the owner of Alltecs, and Justin Mathewson, who also is an entrepreneur with many businesses. Gentlemen, welcome back to the Offshoot.
Hey, Sean, thanks for having me.
Thank you. Really appreciate it.
No, thank you all. So let's get right into this. Let's start with you, Dawnta. What do you think about these mass shootings that target Black people, that target us?
Well, I mean, it's a really broad subject. I mean, it goes to the root of just white superiority mindset. It goes into it goes into the mindset of they can do what they want to do, and not necessarily that they get away with it, like the person or the shooting, but the mindset of, hey, we can inflict or cause harm and walk away in a sense, or be walked to the prison. And I just think, honestly, I think it's a collective, I wouldn't call it a conspiracy, but I believe that these things are not coincidences, if that makes sense. And government has been known to have secret agendas or hidden agendas, or what do you call, like, secret missions? What do you call classified missions that no one knows about? But for example, in the past, they would, or like with other governments, they pay one side or they influence one side and hide their hand and step back and make it seem like they are not a part of it, right? And with the whole issue with the gun laws, that the Democrats are trying to push, there's always a push and pull between the conservatives and, the non-conservatives. So it's like choosing, whether you want to be bitten by a viper or by a rattlesnake, which one gives the worst blow when it comes to politics, and I think that, in my opinion, that there's a underlining agenda to create a fear of white supremacy, because they feel like they're losing power. And ever since Trump, kind of came back with his wave, he's like the great white hope, encouraging that white supremacy again.
Yeah, the great white hope for white boys, not the great white hope for anyone else.
Yeah, well, what of course, what I'm saying is for them, not for us. But definitely not. Yeah. Definitely not for us, right?
Yeah. So let's get Justin here. So Justin, what do you think? So why do you think that we are the target of mass shootings? Do you think that it goes to a superiority complex among white boys who think that they're losing power?
I don't know what the trigger is, or I don't know what the motive is, right? Because we never get to hear. Like, they save their people when they do this, right? Like in the shopping mall or the grocery store, but they never release like information on what the purpose was, what their backing was, who backed the people. We don't know anything. All we have is like propaganda, rhetoric that we just have between ourselves, which we don't even see the world in the same view as they do. They don't hear, see, think, smell, or taste anything like we do. We're so different that for us to try and pretend to understand the way that they think, it's impossible. They don't even hear the same music, right? They don't dance, they don't feel, nothing they do is like what we do, right? So how can we expect to understand what or why they do something when they don't even allow it to be verbalized, and they don't say it? So, and then the second part is, if they quote unquote were to tell us what they were thinking, we couldn't even believe it. Like, I hate to use so many pronouns, but it's the truth. We couldn't even believe what we were hearing, because it's almost like asking, it's almost like asking something that's doing something in their nature why they did it. They don't know, like, why did you laugh at a joke? Because it was funny. Why did you eat that food? Because it smelled good. Why did it smell good? After a while, you're like, fuck, I don't know. And I think a lot of it's nature. I mean, look at what they've done in history, right?
Facts.
It's not, this isn't new, right? This isn't like something. What kills me is that as black people in general, we act surprised, and it's not that we
Right.
understand it, but we should at some point begin to expect it. Like I'm not like I get it if you're a brown person and you move to this country and you don't know, all you've been told is the white narrative that white is good and black is bad. I would come to this country and hate black people too, and I would be scared of Mexicans also, and because that's what they're selling over and over. And even though sometimes they say it's not, when you hear it so many times, it's planted in your brain that those people are like this. Now, the other thing that you never see, I mean, it's just like being in high school, right? So if you have a bully, well, let me just ask you a question. If there's two people, same height, same weight, same everything, you're going to slap one's going to slap you back, you're going to slap another. He's not going to slap you back. Who are you going to choose to slap if you have to slap somebody? You're going to slap the person that's not going to slap you back. And as black people, we've never slapped back. Ever. Not here.
Okay, and that's
so what that is, it exposes weakness. We're very weak when it comes to not being together and protesting, but with regard to when you're comparing apples and apples, we don't even compare. Like you don't see us going out targeting groups of white people and actually doing it. That never happens. It doesn't happen. Like you may have a one-off here and a one-off there where white people happen to be there, but that we don't even target. We're just different in nature, and I feel that based on our animal instinct, the bear. I'll go all the way back to if evolution exists to when we were animals. You're gonna pick at and you're gonna kill the weak first. And I feel like as a people, in their eyes, we're very weak because we don't fight back.
So do you think that it's our growing strength that scares these young white boys or these people in power? And the second question to that is, with that being their nature as you described, how are we to protect ourselves from that nature that is killing us?
It's just like in any sport. You can't just play offense and be like, I'm going to work on my offense. You have to study their defense. So you have to understand. If you don't understand, you're just setting yourself up for failure. So it's just like Bill Belichick, right? So he's a good coach, but a lot of people don't understand he's a defensive coach. He's not an offensive coach, but he understands defenses to a point where he can simplify his offense and just plug your weakness. Now, as a people, again, I don't necessarily think that. I think the hatred is built up because if you look at power and you study people, one thing that unifies people quicker than anything is common enemy. And we're an easy common enemy because we are at the low of the socioeconomic totem pole, right? There's no consequence for them to do stuff to us. Like there isn't any.
Facts.
If one look back, slam a door, if you don't hold the door open for a white lady, I mean, it's a problem for everyone around you. But with us, if you kill a black man, I mean, you don't hear about it the next day. 2 days later, it's someone else. So it's like you're drowning in all of this information, and then you've got these other devils that come in with misinformation to cloudy the water even more. And then you have us, right? Then you have the people like us who are just overly damn emotional and can't separate, propaganda from bullshit, from truth, from facts that's like clear. And then we muddy the water even more, and it's just like turns out to be a mirror with a bunch of mud on it. And then guess what that does? That allows for it to happen again and again and again and again. And until people point out really what's happening, I don't think they're going to understand it. So that common enemy thing, if it's like, hey, all the people with orange hats are our enemy, boom, immediately everyone you're with green hats, you're going to say, okay, fuck it, they're the enemy. Mm-hmm. So you're taught that your whole life, we're the enemy. And we're the only people that have never, ever hurt or destroyed any other people. The only thing we do is we help and we build. And that's why when things hit the fan, when shit hits the fan, they all come to us. You could work in an all-white office. The secretary could be black. When shit hits the fan, they go to her. And I'm telling you, it's like that everywhere. Our women are like the mother of nature. And men, like we're civilization. It's funny that they're trying to paint us, when they show us this, it's like a public lynching. They're trying to show the world that we're weak. Because they have to, right?
The thing is, but we're not weak. So Black American culture is the dominant culture for the most part when it comes to pop culture on the planet. I mean, Black American culture is global. So you can't go anywhere on this planet and not be impacted by something that's Black culture, whether it be hip hop, whether it be fashion, whether it be hair, you name it. So the power is there. But I still wonder,
I just think we don't know the power is there, Sean. Like people, like there's 5% of us, like you, the brothers on here, and others who are conscious about our enemy, right? Because the truth is, the Caucasian people have been our open enemy, like publicly, right? And we as a people are still depending on them, their system, their jobs, their farms, their foods, their everything, right? So it's like we're asking for justice. We're asking for reparations from a people who have never shown any type of love, any type of admiration to us as a people, unless it was them using us for our gifts and our talents. I think the main issue is that we as Black people don't know our value. We don't know our worth because that has been taken from us by coming here.
Well, I would say that, I mean, sorry to interrupt, but so basically what you're saying then is that for the most part, many Black Americans have bought into the white narrative, that like Justin was saying, the story that was told over centuries. So that narrative can be broken. We can write our own stories, which is, I think, a way of protecting ourselves, protecting our identities. So, and I think with that still, we're going to always be a target of mass shootings or any kind of racism that takes place in the workplace, whatever it may be. For some reason, there is a segment of the population, particularly these young white boys, who have, maybe it's an inherent fear of Black excellence, if you will.
Yeah, so, I think the major problem, Sean, is this is Black people here. We're disunited, right? We suffer from the Willie Lynch syndrome, okay? The Willie Lynch syndrome, okay? You too tall, you too Black, you too light, you from the West Side, you from the East Side, right? This is generational program, right? We're Bluetooth Negroes. Like they don't have to have the whip or someone standing over us when they have our minds. And the issue is when we don't have that self-worth as a people, we stand like this versus like this. Uh-oh, got some kickback on the but we pretty much joined in. Sorry guys. Okay, cool.
That's all good. Thanks.
So I think the issue is that we as a people in general across the board, let's just speak for America. Even if we spoke with Africa, or about the original people around the planet, we're disconnected. They don't see us as being a part of our own. They don't see us as being people or being brothers and sisters. They say, oh, well, I'm African, or I'm from Senegal, I'm from Morocco. They don't feel like the Black American is connected to them, on top of us not being connected in America.
But again, that's a narrative that was sold to the Black community, that was sold to us by a white elite, if you will. Okay.
Yeah, but the fact is that this is why these things can happen and they get away with it, is because we're still suffering from that mindset. The truth is that Black people need an awakening. I'm talking about the 57 million Black people that live in America need a total awakening of our consciousness, our self-worth, and our necessary needs for unity. I think if we actually unite, for example, like I said, the example of a hand or a fist, if we try to fight our enemy like this, we won't be successful. But if we come together as a people and put our differences to the side, and when these type of things come and we come out in the masses and we show ourselves up in the millions that we're not going to continue to allow this to happen, right? Then that's when the consequences begin to stand.
Okay, so I understand you, but in order for that to happen, there has to be a break from the narrative that has been told for the last 400 years. So where do we begin? So let's let Justin jump in here. Justin, where do we begin to break that narrative that's been told over the last 400 years to empower all Black folks around the world that we are empowered, that we are to be reckoned with, and that we can no longer be the target of young white boys who want to shoot us at will and go have McDonald's with the police officers as they get escorted to jail?
Well, it's to me, it's easy to show strength when you have it, like when you're strong, right? Like the big guy that's strong, he doesn't have to flex. Like he doesn't have to say, "I'll whoop your ass," because you know he's strong. So we need to start first with freeing ourselves and stop talking. Like, how many people do you know talk about having a business? How many people do you know talk about doing this or doing that? Fuck it, do it. Stop talking about it, right? So we need to start with that, and then we need to understand that we're behind the eight ball. And we talked about this before, Sean. It's just like if you're thinking about 2022 or 2023, you're too late right now. We need to be thinking about 2025, 2026. And we're always reactive to policy and shit that they put in place years ago. We cannot be behind the eight ball. So you can complain about the prison system and you can talk about the politicians, but if you're not running for office, you're really not doing nothing. Oh, vote, vote, vote. That's what they want you to think. But we need to run. We need to run for every office there is. We can't continue to complain about people who have built a system that we choose to now live in, because now at this point we choose to be here, right? So you can't come in my house and complain about the food I make not smelling good. Go get your own house, right? So like that's how it is. Don't whine about my fridge not being cold enough. Go get your own damn fridge. And that's what I'm saying. We need to free ourselves by doing and stop talking and being reactive, because then so for me, like I look at it like, as long as we're talking, if I'm in power, as long as we're talking, I'm happy. Let them boys talk, because that means they're definitely not doing it. Right. So let
me ask you this then. So in other words, to do what you're saying, we need to ignore all that's happening over there in terms of, I mean, I don't want to say ignore the next mass shooting that targets us, but basically we need to ignore what's happening.
No, what I'm saying is we have to start planning, right? So we have to plan for this to happen. So it happened, right? So we come together and we come together more. So we need to start planning. Hey, if this happens again, this is how we react. Right. So if they come so the next guy that comes into a grocery store, if you see someone with a shotgun coming to a grocery store, we have a plan. Something happens, they're not just going to come in. It's going to be a different game. But if we're just
okay, but most of us are not advocates for carrying weapons, carrying guns, especially concealed weapons. So if we are going to plan for the next mass shooting or the next white boys come after us, okay, say next year or 2 years, what are you saying? Are you saying that we should prepare in the sense of having guns ourselves, or some other kind of way of getting to that guy?
What I'm saying is we have to be, so it's nothing's going to be one dimensional, first of all, right? So there's going to be different tracks that we can take regardless of what we're trying to accomplish. But so one of those things that we can take, I would say, would be, for example, look what just happened with Roe versus Wade, right? So we just found out that Anne Roe, it was a whole lie. It was the most unethical thing ever. The whole case was a lie, right? And then now you have all of these people that are like defending it and defending abortion. No. But look what just happened. They just changed it. They reversed it. And now it affects a lot of women, correct? So what I'm saying with regard to us, we probably need to get people in office that aren't, if we don't like guns and we're not for it, get people in office that aren't for it, vote for them, run for office, and start there. I'm not saying it's going to stop it. I don't think you can stop it. How do you can't stop hate? You know, it's like stopping lust. You can't. It's an impossible question to answer, you know?
And Dawnta, you want to jump in and say something?
Yeah. I mean, if you look at it like this, right? Like the brother said, if you come in my house and you start complaining about my rules and how I run, then you need to get your own home. And I think there needs to be a conversation, not only of reparations, but us having as a people our own separate territory here in America. We should be given a few states, not only because of the work that our people have been put in, that our ancestors have put in on this land, but also it's like a marriage. This bond between the Black and the white has been an abusive relationship, and it's been one-sided. We're like the wife that's constantly being beat and misused and abused and mistreated. So what, are you going to continue to stay in that house and complain? No, that's why, like he was saying, we need to begin to build our own. We need to start getting into these offices, start really truly organizing, getting our people who have financial stability, long finances, organizing our stars, our politicians.
But let me ask you this. Let me ask you guys this then. So you're talking about our own economic system, if you will. But right now we're in a system that was built on capitalism. You know, this country
Slavery.
slavery.
Slavery,
Not
facts.
capitalism. Not
So, I mean, I personally think that capitalism is one reason why we are where we are in terms of being at the bottom of the totem pole, if you will, against slavery as well. But the capitalism we have today was due to slavery. They built the capitalism today.
Based on slaves. Yes, sir.
Based on slavery. So, and we talked earlier about not buying into the narrative of the white elite. So if you're going to have our own this, our own that, should we not also get rid of any kind of economic system that was put in place by the white?
Yeah, we should have our own economics, our own farmland, our own way of producing food. We should be importing from other countries. I mean, we should be a nation. We are a nation. We're 57 million people who are captive in a land. And not only that, we're 460 years behind them. Think about that. They got a 460-year start. And just, free labor for, 300 and something years, that's a lot of money. If I kept your pay for just 6 months, I'd be, that'd be a blessing. So you put somebody in that position, we can't compete with them. That's why it's important that we do receive reparations, because they owe us this. They owe us that. This is our country just as much as they claim it being theirs.
Okay, but why use the model that they created?
No, we don't have to. No, we come up with our own model. But what I'm saying is, the separate state and its territory, we can use the great minds amongst each other to create the best model that works for us as a people. Because like he said, our nature is not the same. We don't move the same as they do. We don't think. We are much more caring and a much more compassionate people. So the way we rule and the way we organize and the way we run our towns and our counties and our states are going to be totally different.
Okay, but what about the white allies? What about other minority groups? What about Latinos and Asians, etc.?
Oh, no, that's important. Those are our family as well. First of all, the human family is the human family, okay? It's just the fact that the Caucasian race has been the demon to every other human being on the planet. So the fact is that we can separate ourselves from them and still have a quote unquote business relationship, right? We can keep it strictly business with them, but we don't need to have this intimate relationship we have. We depend on them too much. We depend on them for everything. So it's like I said, like Brother Justin said, you got to put yourself in a position where you're no longer depending, you're no longer going into someone else's house trying to change their rules. We really need our own. And that's my belief, that that's the only solution to our problem. We've been going through this since we've been here. It's not going to change. It's not going to change.
Why would it change? Why? If you have power, why would you get? No one. Power is never given. It's always taken. Who the hell gives up power? It will never change as long as we're talking. Never. I'm not going to give you part of my land just because.
Right.
No.
Right. I mean, look, like they just gave, for example, they gave all that money to Ukraine, but they don't have no money for reparations. That is a blatant slap in the face that we have no respect for you as a people. So America's for sale. So what we need to do is organize, start buying a lot of farmland, because the farm is the base of every nation. Food is first, right? And clothes, cotton, all of that comes from the land. So first we need to get land. And we, as a conglomerate, as a people, we need to be purchasing and buying land, whether it's here, whether it's in other countries. We need to be setting up beachheads where we create our own communities and we run and sheriff and politic and organize our own lifestyle as a people. And within that, we also have a, let's say because it will be pockets. It will start off as pockets all over the place. But as a unity around the nation, we have an umbrella as a people. This is our nation. right? And this is how we run our places of ownership, or the lands that we own. This is how we organize, this is how we run, right? And that would change so many things, because now we're not among them. So the mass shootings and all that kind of stuff, that wouldn't even be prevalent, because we're amongst each other as a people. And I think that's what's most important, man, is us finding a way to separate. That's key.
Well, there are some white folks who want to succeed from this country. You know, Texas, for example, has a large population of white folks who want to be on their own. So it almost seems or sounds like you got this certain population of white folks who want the same thing. So
there's nothing wrong with that. Listen, they don't like us. It's okay. If you don't want to be among us, fine. Okay. Now, what's really crazy is they say to continue to do the same thing, expect different results is, that's foolishness, right? So we as Black people keep doing the same fucking thing. Excuse my language. We keep doing the same stuff. Keep rallying. But it's foolishness. That don't change nothing. It don't change anything. They can say, let them niggas rally. We don't care about that. But when we start buying businesses, buying land, when we start becoming here's the thing, Dawnta, with that, and I hear you. There was a time in American history when all that was happening within the Black community in this country, but it was all burned down. We go back to Wilmington, North Carolina, 1898, when it was the most prosperous Black city in the country. It was burned down. Like Justin said earlier, no one's going to give up power. You have to take it. In that case, the white folks took the power, literally took the power from Black folks. We all know about Tulsa, Oklahoma, but there are many other cities where there were large Black communities, thriving businesses, where, again, this group of white people, the same mindset, they literally burn Black communities, from Rosewood, from Atlanta to Chicago. Yes, sir.
So I tend to agree with you that nothing's really going to change, like Justin said, until there is, I guess, some way of letting them know that, no, you're not going to get away with that this time.
The first thing is we need leadership. We don't even have a leader.
Facts.
First thing is you need a leader that's smart, that can think like them, that can tell them, hey, look, hey, I'm the guy, and no, the shit's over, like it's done. That's the first thing. You can't go. Oh, you can listen. If me and you, if all three of us, as smart as we are, say, listen, we're gonna drive to California. We got enough gas in the car. I got new tires, a great engine. We got a good car. Let's go to California. As smart as we are, we'll get there. Okay. But if we have a map, we'll get there a lot faster. And if we have Waze, that's our leader. If we have Waze to experience the wisdom, the foresight, right? Then we're going to get there even faster. Make sense? With a lot less money and a lot less trouble and a lot less problems. Like we have enough right here. We're just not using it. I don't think that
I agree. I agree with you, Justin. I do think that there is a lack of leadership. I do think that there's a plan. We can get there. But also historically, when we had that emerging leadership, the individual was killed, was assassinated.
That's a fact.
But think about it, because, all right, listen, it's like we talked about ground swelling, right? We're not going to talk about that here, but like, if you stick your head up in a war, who's going to get their head shot off? So a leader isn't always the guy you see, right? That's just the puppet, just like the president. So we have to stop thinking that what we see is is real. That's not real. These people are fed. So the leadership is the brain, not Pinky in the brain. The brain, you don't see him.
Right.
Make sense? So leadership doesn't mean, yes, the person standing up saying, hey, the shit's over, that's the representative. But the leadership is the people, the group of
the
people,
executive,
the board of directors, right?
Facts.
It's
there you
board
go.
Of directors.
Sure.
They're the people that have the foresight and the knowledge, and they understand the system. The CEO is just managing and hiring people to control it. Yeah, Facts. You see him. He has a nice business card, but he ain't really running shit. He gets a small percentage, right, of the profit. He gets a nice salary, but he gets a small percentage of what matters, which is the profit. So we need to organize in that way, be smart enough, And we don't always have to we got to stop wanting the attention and stop wanting the clout. And that comes from like being self-actualized. But the problem is we're so just now used to getting money that it feels good still to blow our money, to go spend it on nice cars and stupid clothes and whatever, right? We're not investing in ourselves. We're investing in everybody else.
That's a fact.
So until that happens, but you can't blame us because we've been fucking suffocating for so long. We're just happy to have air. We're like, shit, God damn. I got time to breathe. The sun's pretty. You hear the birds? We appreciate everything. We need to think about a castle. Fuck a castle. I have air. We appreciate the sun, the birds. I love hearing birds. Like we're so far from.
I think we're getting there. I do believe as a community that, like Dawnta was saying, a lot of us are waking up. Okay, and I think that more and more of us every day are getting there and recognizing that. And it's building. And I do believe that a lot of it is happening with younger people. But there are also a lot of older people, seniors, 60s and 70s, even 80s, who feel the same way. I know that because I talk with them on a daily basis. The thing is, the 25-year-old isn't talking to the 55-year-old or the 75-year-old. And to realize that they're all on the same page. Okay.
Yeah, but whose fault is that?
Good question. I'm not sure whose fault is that.
I just had this conversation with my dad, and I told him I'm disappointed because I had a conversation with my grandma, and I said, Grandma, how could you not share these stories? Like, how will I get that story, right? If you don't say it, how do I know it? I'm sitting here thinking you're just a nice old lady. Nah, man, she's been through a lot. Like, she's been through a lot. My dad knows, he didn't tell me. And he's telling me how we don't talk to each other anymore. Whose fault is that? It's called leadership, right?
Yeah.
That's it. Just being, I really don't think we know how to be leaders, even within our families. Like at the basic local level, we don't know how to lead shit. Go look at football teams. Go look at like Little League football and watching these coaches. I love sports. My son plays football, but it's interesting to watch these grown men maxed out at high school football. They think they're professionals. And it's interesting to see how far off they are. Does that make sense? There's no plan. They're just herding cats. They're still looking at bodies and not athleticism, you know? Like they're not seeing, they'll see a kid who's fat. They're not seeing what could be, they're looking at what is. Does that make sense?
Right.
So we have to think about like our potential, like potential energy, right? We have to think about where are we going to guide that? And we have to think early and start teaching these kids early, like, hey, this is what you're going to do. And this is why. Like, we're not, you really, the group needs this. And this is why you're going to do it. Because as a group, we're better and we're stronger. The group doesn't need us putting our money into other people's ventures. Like we're the biggest venture capitalist in the world.
Facts.
We invest in every other company. We don't invest in ourselves. We don't read. We don't write shit. Look, I'm so happy, Sean, that you do this because you actually write. You actually are doing this. Does that make sense? So like no matter what I'm doing, anytime you ask me to come on, I should say, yes, I'm going to do whatever I can to be there for you. Period. I don't care what's going on. I'm going to stop because you're doing it. And everyone that knows you should be doing the same thing.
Right.
But
absolutely.
But brunch with the girls shouldn't be more important. Does that make sense?
Facts.
Hanging out with the fellas should not be more important. It shouldn't be.
Well, I think you're 100% correct. And I am running for office, by the way. I'm running for commissioner. That might lead to other things in DC government. And I am putting my mouth where my words are. And so I'm taking action on those things. I do wish that there are more people
first step.
More involved. And this platform, I hope, is a way to wake more folks up to get more involved. Voting is not enough. We do need leadership. And I do think that you're right. There is a lack of leadership. And one has to be willing to recognize that they're going to have to break the norm, and doing so might get them in trouble.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's
for sure.
Yeah.
Sean, I wanted to speak on the fact that you was talking about how everything we build, whether it's our leaders, whether it's our communities, whether it's our businesses, they try to become a parasite or a destroyer of what we have, right? If they're not benefiting from it, sucking the blood from us, whether it's our music, our talent, our business gifts, they do not want it to happen, right? Because it's like brother said, they don't want to lose power, right? Naturally, the Black man is already more mentally, physically, more advanced by nature than the Caucasian race. We are naturally physically more strong, right? We are naturally more compassionate, more balanced, more rhythm, more in tune with our planet. They're allergic to the sun. I mean, that should tell you something, right? So if you put us in a position where we can begin to organize a nation, now every nation has an army, every nation has a military, every nation has a protector or security over their sovereignty, right? So as we build, those things are going to also have to be addressed. Okay, so we're building all this wealth, all these banks, all this money, all this success. How do we now begin to protect it?
Well, I'm going to sum it up this way. And Justin mentioned earlier about, power, and no man, especially man, is going to give up power. But power has to be plugged into something. And it seems, though, to me that as a people, all we have to do is unplug the power source and plug it somewhere else. Plug it into the Black community and other communities of color.
Facts.
So,
because if we, Sean, excuse me, I know you had said something about the Latino and the Indian, the Native American. All of us have suffered from this same man, from this same race. If we all begin to organize and we all begin to unite as the darker people, as the original people on our planet, he's already the minority on our planet. So he begins to lose. But the challenge obviously is bringing that unity. That would be a great challenge. But I'm speaking of the dream.
Yeah, I hear you. And the way to bring people together is to not to buy into the narrative that was thrust upon all of us for the last 400 years. Okay.
Yes,
and
sir.
So basically to stop listening. So I'm telling everyone out there, turn off CNN, turn off Fox, turn off MSNBC, turn off ABC, turn it all off, okay, and start doing your homework and unplug your source. You're the source of the power. Unplug it from the white elite and plug it into something else.
Well, you got to understand the problem is you almost have to unplug from each other. We have to unplug from each other also because so many of us are infected with that virus. So it's like you can't say, oh, I'm gonna save all my money. I'm not gonna watch this TV show, but I'm gonna hang out with a bunch of broke people. If you hang out with 9 broke people, you'll be the 10th, right?
Right.
So it's more so, and it's almost like we have to formalize it. I don't know how else you can do it with how society is today. It's constant like programming. Like everywhere you go, you turn on the radio. Then we even call each other nigga, right? So when you start talking about like cultural image and ethnic image and cultural dominance, like these are things that we as a people don't even talk about. But why won't they let that movie? What's the new movie? What's the new movie with the pilot? Jeez, what's the new movie that just came out with the Air Force?
Oh, Tom Cruise, Top Gun?
Top Gun, that's what it is. They won't allow that movie to play in China because once again, it's making the white man look like a hero. They won't even allow it to be seen. You get it? So they understand the importance of seeing their greatness. We don't even stand that, which means, and we're not only that, like what other culture do you see? I mean, if we're calling each other the worst word that there is out here every day, all day, what are we doing? It's just like the R word with girls. If I'm a therapist and I know that there's a little girl that's been compromised, the worst thing I could do is talk all day about other girls and show her all the time that this is happening because all I'm doing is damaging her more and more and more and more. That's not how you build people. But we call each other nigga. It's like every day, all day is everywhere. So how do you get away from it? We can't even build our own image in our head to support what we're saying we want to do. Because with that smothered in just filth. Does that make sense? Like we've convinced ourselves that that's a good thing. No, we're gonna turn a bad word into a good word. Well, then how come when you're mad you call him that?
That's a fact. That's just like turning. That's like trying to turn slave food. It's like turning chitlins. You know, that the same word nigga is like trying to turn chitlins into soul food. It's still the guts of a pig.
It don't make no sense. It's like saying I'm a wealthy slave. Who the fuck wants to be a wealthy slave?
Yeah.
Stupid.
Yeah. Well, on that note, a lot was said there, and we're going to definitely have to continue this conversation another time because I can go on and on and on and on. And so let's end it there. And for all of you out there, please watch the other content of the Offshoot. Check us out at www.theoffshoot.org. Subscribe to the YouTube channel where you can see other content. If you're looking to remodel your home or do something around your house, Dawnta, his company is called Alltecs, and he'd be more than happy to offer you his services at a price, of course. Justin has many businesses out there, many government contracts, and if you need some advice on how to be an entrepreneur or get a government contract, he's the man to go to on that. So
yeah, we just started a cyber company. So if anyone's into cyber, I'm making that plug now because there's a lot of opportunity in cyber. That's another thing we need to protect ourselves with and through that probably we should start talking about on the tech side.
Thank you.
Facts.
We need to have a tech conversation. So let's do that. We need to add that to our list of discussions. But let's leave it at there. And gentlemen, thank you again for joining me on this episode of the Offshoot. We will continue this conversation sooner rather than later.
All right, Sean, appreciate you for having me.
All right, take care, gentlemen.
All right, thanks.